But right now we are talking internet addictions. Now,
Yeah.
this is interesting because I've seen it with relationships. There's an increasing amount of complaints with adult relationships that the partner, usually the guy, has been addicted to online games.
Yes.
To the point where he starts excluding everything else and relationships break down because of it. There is a particular Bible, per se, called the Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and currently we're at version 4 text revised, and they're bringing a new one out in May next year, so the updated version. And there's this huge push to actually include internet addiction and gaming addiction for children to be recognised as a psychiatric disorder.
And it's going to be called Internet Use Disorder, apparently. Let's find out about that.
Yes, Professor Rochelle Lenrich from the University of New South Wales is on the line. Good afternoon to you, Professor.
Good afternoon.
This is very interesting. I mean, I always take the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders with a small grain of salt, considering it took them till, version 3 before they removed homosexuality as a mental disorder. So what comes, what goes. This one, I think, perhaps has legs, though, because it seems to be an increasing problem in society and certainly with younger people.
Indeed. And I do think if one considers that being included in the DSM is more trying to indicate that there's a group of people out there who are having a problem and we want to be able to learn more about it, that including it will help us to learn more about it rather than saying that we know right now exactly what it is or isn't.
So what's the line between just having fun on the internet and suffering from internet use disorder?
I think that can be a hard one, but I'd say that the biggest place to see that there's problems is if there are problems. If you're seeing that, if your child or teenager, this really can be the case for adults as well, is doing this to the point where it's making problems in other areas of life, where if they're prevented from being on the internet, that it's making them become very irritable or have other kinds of behavioral problems, that it really seems to be playing a role in their life that's way out of balance for what's good for them.
It sometimes makes me wonder under those circumstances when parents are reporting that children are becoming, irritable, hostile, acting out because they've had internet access taken away from them, that shouldn't there be a category within the DSM for just bad parenting disorder?
Well, I think it does speak to the challenges that parents face in trying to learn how to negotiate the new things that are coming up in their children's lives. And to be fair, I think there's a lot about the way, for example, online games are done to specifically make it so that kids are going to want to do that more and more. And so parents may feel like they're really fighting an uphill battle when they're doing that. But I don't think anybody ever said parenting was easy.
I just keep thinking, if the children are on the internet, giving them time limits, like you have 2 hours or an hour or whatever it may be, and when the alarm goes off, that's it, your time is up. And if you would like to continue to carry on like a pork chop about this, you will have, less internet time or no internet time. There we are, there's your choice, take your pick.
I think that is kind of the bedrock, like anything else, whether it's sugary foods or going out and playing with your friends, being able to help your child understand that there's limits and each thing needs to be done within that is part of that hard work. But I also think that there may be some kids for whom the internet seems to be much more attractive and who might have a much harder time tearing themselves away from it. And so the kind of behaviors those parents are facing might be a lot more extreme.
Yeah, I was reading about Cara Wright, who says she was so concerned her 12-year-old son Jack had an internet addiction. She banned him from using the laptop over the school holidays, and he had become frustrated and angry and often cry when he was using the internet. And it was only when he was using the technology that these emotions emerged. So she cut him down to just 1 hour, and then she had to get rid of it altogether because it was affecting him that badly, just even for the short time he was on the internet. Is that common?
I don't think that's common. I think most kids manage these things just fine. But that's where you might think that there are some children for whom, particularly if they might have a bit of a compulsive tendency, that have a really hard time with letting go of something that really clicks for them. And it might have, if the internet hadn't been around, he might have had that about something else. But nonetheless, that's something for him that he'll have to learn how to deal with.
So he has a predisposition to that type of compulsive behaviour, whether it be internet or Meccano or anything else?
Yeah, I can't speak for him, and his mother had said nothing else seemed to have really provoked these reactions. But I think these kinds of obsessive tendencies are present and seem to manifest in response to different kinds of, whether it's gambling or alcohol or the internet. And that it may be there's something specific about the internet will kind of do it for some people who otherwise wouldn't have run into it, but that there will be certain traits that some people have that might make them more vulnerable.
What about something like texting? Can that be put in the same category?
So when people are talking about internet addiction, they think that it might be important to subdivide. That for some people it's online gaming, other people it's texting and that kind of social interaction that they can't seem to get away from. Other people it might be something else.
I go back to whatever happened to using the phone to talking to someone.
That's right. And when you finish talking to somebody for a short while, you go out and play cricket.
Oh, yes. I look at it, I start
showing
texting.
Our age.
I
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
I know, but that is so true, Rochelle. I mean, I go and text people and go, I can't actually type that quickly. I'm just going to ring them.
That's right.
It's just so much easier.
That's the way I think too. Well, it's an interesting addiction. I don't know. What do we do about it? Is there something we should be looking out for with our kids or grandkids and do something about it, or do you just let them be?
Well, I think to some extent that we always have to be vigilant. That the internet is such a huge new development in terms of the way that human beings are able to interact with each other. The kind of access you have to information from all over the world and connecting with people when you might have thought you were the only one in this little town that felt the way you do. I mean, marvelous things. But it's something that's new in terms of the kind of rules and ways of thinking about how to interact with other people. So I don't think we've quite worked that out yet. And until we do, that it's important for parents to be vigilant about what are their kids doing, how much time is it, are they getting access to all of the other things that are important for their development, and to put some limitations down if they start getting worried about it. That said, kids are going to have to learn how to deal with the internet and do it well. So just knocking it away altogether isn't the answer.
It will also be very interesting to see, as we said, that the Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the new edition, May next year, the criteria that would need to be checked for you to actually be classified as having this particular disorder.
Yeah, and a lot of it is following along similar models with, say, gambling disorder, where you're looking at something that's saying, this is really a behavior that's gotten out of hand. It's having problems. You're not, if you are taken away from it, you have what look like withdrawal symptoms, things along those lines. And whether the kind of what's happening in the biology is something new or it's actually something that's like other behavioral addictions is part of what we'll need to figure out.
Quite interesting. We shall wait to see how that develops. Thank you so much for your time, Professor Rochelle Lenroot from the University of New South Wales.